Hello, everyone. Welcome to Women in Web3 podcast that celebrate the inspiring stories of women who are shaping the future of technology. I'm your host, Kenneth Chu, and in each episode, we dive into the world of Web3 and explore the incredible work being done by women in blockchain, NFT, Metaverse, and much more. As someone who is passionate about diversity and inclusion in tech, I created this podcast to showcase the achievement and challenges of women who are making waves in the industry. My goal is to inspire more women to get involved and help to build a world that is more equitable and inclusive for everyone. In this episode of Women in Web3 podcast, we are very happy to introduce our guest, Olivia Lee, who is a co-founder and of a Web3 and Metaverse consultancy, LIVVIUM. LIVVIUM bridges the digital frontier, guiding brands through immersive commerce, metaverse exploration, and Web3 thought leadership to thrive in tomorrow's connected world. Her hands-on approach as a metaverse explorer empowers her to help her clients navigate the digital landscape effectively. She has explored over 20 metaverse platforms and over 60 plus worlds. With a rich tapestry of experiences and deep understanding of the Web3 space, Olivia is shaping the future of fashion industry within the digital realm. Her contribution to the platform not only align her passion for supporting women-led initiative, but also further her commitment to bridging the gender and investment gap in Web3 projects. Olivia has been recognized as a key figure in the Web3 space, featured in the top 100 Global Women of the Future of Emerging Tech Volume 2 in 2023. This recognition is a testament to her pioneering work and influence in the technology industry. So, without further ado, let us welcome Olivia. Hi, Olivia.
Hi, Kenneth. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for that really lovely introduction. And I really love what you're doing in this space for women in Web3.
Wow, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And finally, we are on the show, right? So, for me, I was really, really excited because the topic that we're going to talk about, uh, transiting from Web2 to Web3, right, is something that is very close to my heart. Later, we'll talk more about it. But before, right, we start, there's a tradition that every guest get to post the question of the day out to the next guest. So, are you ready to receive the question of the day posted by the previous guest before we can officially kickstart with the show?
Is this the warm up?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is a surprise. Yes, let's hear it.
Yes. Okay, so the question of the day posted by the previous guest is, what is one of the biggest challenges for female founders or leaders? Okay, I repeat again. The question of the day is, what is one of the biggest challenges for female founders or leaders? So do you have an answer for it, or you need some time to think about it?
I think it's going to be different for everyone, but overall in general, some of the biggest challenge that I find for women in Web3 to start something on their own is to really finding that trust circle, the support system to really kind of help you move it on to the next step. I think there is always the idea that there's help needed in some ways to kind of move it on to the next level. And it really depends on what kind of industry you're in within the tech space. A lot of times is finding the right kind of mentor, or perhaps somebody to help fund your project, or someone to even brainstorm and bounce your ideas with. So support system, I think, is the challenge.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing your answer to the question of the day. And now we can officially start. And I think this question was very good for where we were talking about this, right? Is because I've just finished and wrapping up this female founder competition last week. So I think this question come in timely, and now with your answer, right, it kind of give me some heads up about support system. And as you know, right, I'm very big in championing women in whatever they do, especially in entrepreneurship, even now in Web3, because we both of us, we saw the potential that women can even thrive in Web3. So that's why about supporting female founders, I think it's always good to know what are the challenges, and that's where, as being entrepreneur, right, we are here to really solve this problem. We will find a solution for any problem that's out there. So as you mentioned, right, support system is very important. And that is
Yeah.
also the reason why this podcast was born, is to act it as an inspiration for a lot of women who want to step into Web3 but do not know what is it. And when they approach the expert in this space, right, they might not be able to put it in very layman terms, or even put it across for women who want to find out more. Who will be the best person, right, other than women, sharing what is the benefit about Web3 to women, than from the tech perspective. So now we can start. And before we start, right, maybe can you share a bit about yourself, your background, what were you doing before you got into Web3, and how you got started into Web3?
Okay, yes, I always love talking about this. So, I come from a very not traditional trajectory in terms of my professional career path. I've been in Hong Kong for about 20 years now. Professional life, it's always been in Hong Kong. So, throughout the years, I've dabbled in very different industries, including luxury retail. I was in education, in fundraising for nonprofits. One of the last roles I had was director of marketing for a private investment company. And essentially, that is how I got into Web3. And a little bit more about that is the portfolio in this private investment company was always about alternative assets. So it's not the very traditional type of portfolio of like hospitality or maybe commercial buildings, etc. It's about very interesting stuff like carbon neutrality, quantum computing, crypto naturally is one, Web3, AI, all that kind of stuff. So when I joined, I essentially just wanted to do my job well. My boss at the time was very much into Web3. He very much is a visionary himself. He had great ideas. And he just was very excited at the time. And in order for me to do my job well, I just really started focusing, zone in on those topics and not just sort of see it from a macro level of how do I do my job, but how do I really get to do my job well. And the turning point for me, Kenneth, is through a metaverse investment deck. So, for working in these kind of companies, you get to see a lot of decks on a regular basis. My ex-boss at the time also knew I liked fashion. He sent me over a deck. I swear it was like within first week of my job. And it was essentially a metaverse shopping in the metaverse. It made sense. I had no idea what it was. It had gaming, it had all of those name brands, it had avatars, it had lifetime, it had different environments, and immediately I understood. So he didn't invest in that project in the end, but I myself started paying attention to what is the metaverse. And essentially that's how I got into it. So about a good year and a half ago, probably about a year and a bit ago, I decided to venture off and to pursue it full time, so I can really put in the time. And through this sort of organic way, I started as a metaverse explorer, as you first described to your audience. And through that, I started to kind of have a feel of what do I want to do? How can I add value? Of course, a lot of these wonderful people I met in the ecosystem also kind of help inspire me and kind of tell me where my niche is. So that's how I got into the space.
Wow. Now I get to know you a bit more, because the our previous discussion was just really get to know each other. But now with all this, right, you basically sum it up about what you do and how you got into this space. So before we go into the topic of this episode, right, there's one question that even before we start, right, you were also sharing a bit about it, and I want to put this question out to you, which is, why did you accept my invitation to be my guest on Women in Web3 podcast, knowing that it's being hosted by a man? Maybe you can share with me and also the audience, like, why do you accept the invitation?
Okay, well, firstly is we had a nice build a nice rapport when we were on LinkedIn. I saw some of your very supportive posts. So that's already like an indication you are a true ally for women in Web3. And of course, time zone is good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I meant like, I feel like that you're very genuine in this space. And myself as a woman, as I've mentioned, it's great to amplify our message. And I feel like the more that we can share our experiences, our journey, how do we get into this space, I hope that I can inspire others. And with your podcast title, aptly named Women in Web3, it is a perfect match. So I'm very glad you invited me, and I'm so glad to be here today.
Thank you very much. And I realized that as I do, right, because this is your episode is already episode 16, and in the very beginning, before I start, right, I never could visualize that I will be doing this coming to 20 episode, which is approximately one season that I always do. So every season will be 20 episode, and other than like having this in with a full season, right, of 20 episode, right. In fact, I've already have some guests that's on the what do you call it, on the list for season two. And when I ask this question, right, I find that a lot of my guests, they came in because they really want to be that light, that trailblazer, that to really inspire another women, because I believe that you have been inspired by someone in this space. If there's a woman, a role model, or a mentor, right, that will be really really inspiring, because it tells you that it's possible for women to thrive in this space. So thank you so much for answering this question, because this question and your answers really meant a lot to me. And now that is also the reason why, right, when you talk about that transition, right, like you not being in the space, but because you work in a company and your boss happens to be really passionate about Web3, and that's where it opens up your door, right, your vision, your horizon to more things. So like going to the topic of this episode, right, is transitioning from Web 2 to Web 3. Because for myself, right, the same thing, I came from traditional digital media, from advertising, medium, sales and marketing in a very traditional online space. And then transitioning into Web3, because I am a chief strategy officer of a marketing technology company that we does help brands and businesses with NFTs and building bespoke metaverse for them. So when I come across your profile, and I was like, wow, interesting. And also fashion, right? Like, just a fun fact, right? A lot of the audience may not know that in fact I studied fashion design and I majored in fashion design. I graduated with a diploma. So when I come across what you're doing, I was like, wow, that's very interesting in the digital fashion, and now even in Web3, in the metaverse, showcasing fashion. So that is where I see that both of us we transit into Web3. So that's why this topic really resonated with me. So maybe you can share with us, right, what is happening now in the whole Web3 and Metaverse space? Because a lot of people say, oh, Metaverse is dead, NFT is dead, Web3 is dead. So what is your take on that?
Okay, it is absolutely not dead. It is slowly and consistently changing and evolving. People who are actually in this space, whether they are builders, they're creators, developers, advocates, explorer, the curious minded like myself, it is very much still alive. I think overall, the Web3 space is happening in a very steady pace. But some of the things has definitely changed. I think if you look back to about 2.5 years ago, at the very high of the NFT kind of cycle, it exploded, especially with Meta, and I mean Facebook announcing as Meta, that really catapulted everyone's attention to what is Web3. So in some ways, very good, but at the same time, we've all experienced the downfall of all of this stuff as well. But regardless, we pick up and we're slowly rebuilding it again. So I think the definition of Web3 has also kind of eased and changed a bit. of course, the tenets and the foundations of the Web3 still exist. The idea of ownership, privacy, interoperability, decentralization, all of this stuff are tenets and they still very much exist. That is the idea of this Web3. So it's really the just digital evolution of what we know as the internet. You can think of it this way, but of course it expands past beyond just online. And then, of course, the metaverse itself. I think when the idea of the word metaverse came out, we're all thinking about this sort of like Ready Player One world, like the snow crash or, like the very, hyper surrealistic kind of way, And effectively, I think when these hardwares come out and wearables come out, maybe we're going to be so much closer to that type of metaverse world, but very well right now, it's best to think of it as an extension and an upgrade of the existing internet, So I like to use the word 3D internet for our friends out there who may find the word metaverse to be a little bit intimidating. So it's really about integrating some of these features of Web3. Actually, many of these features are very well in existence if our day-to-day life the whole time. Like, we can get into it or not, but like the AI, AR, VR, all of these things, filters partly powered by AI and Snapchat, like they've all been around. It's just that now the pieces are kind of lined up and then we're going to catapult it to the next level, maybe with more data and insights and stuff. So overall, Metaverse and Web3 is not going anywhere, but I think it will help if we stop mentioning these words, like the very like definition of these things. It becomes very technical and people start to kind of fade away and don't want to listen to it. So I think the magic happens is when we all kind of adapt and start seeing some of these features in our day-to-day lives, which many of us actually already do without knowing it. That is probably where the trajectory and the direction is going to go.
Yeah, I like the part is when you say that we are already in that space, right? Whether we know or do not know about it, and that is the thing that I think in the whole Web3 space, right? Like you mentioned in the very beginning, it went all the way up and all the hype, and then it went all the way down. I think it applies to any new innovation, any new technology, and people are just like, wow, it's go up so high, and now it crashes, and now it's winter. Metaverse is dead, everything is dead in Web3. But I think it's not dead. Why would I say that? Because if you have been to Token 2049 in Singapore, right, you know it is not dead at all. Like the whole vibe, everybody was coming out with things. A lot of things are working on the background, and you just feel very positive about it. But I think people outside, right, of Web3, they may not feel that.
On that note, Kenneth, I think the reason why people think it was dead was ultimately it was tied to the financial gains of it, right? Well, why is it dead? Well, because a piece of land, like a parcel of land on Sandbox was so and so at this price, how many sands, the sands token dropped, Ethereum dropped, so it was pretty much related to price factor. But me, I don't concentrate on that. I don't think it's the right way to do it. How do we integrate this into user experiences and engagement as part of our livelihood? So that's where the real change is going to take place. So less focus on the value and the financial gains from my perspective. And more focus on how it changes our interactions, our consumer behavior. How does it make things seamless for us? How does it add more joy to our life? All of these things are some of the interplays of Web3.
Yeah, I think on the other part, like you mentioned, which is true also because of the investment part, because of the stock market, the investment market that is tied to DeFi, to cryptocurrency, and even for NFT. And all of us, like for you, right, you also have seen like the ups of back then where people are coming with cryptocurrency when there's only a few coins, and then we have altcoins, we have some really really shitty coins that's coming out, and there was also a spike of ICO, right? A lot of ICO companies coming out, and then like that it all went bust. 99% of them went bust, and you don't really hear anybody going ICO. And then after that you see that they come out with creative way, they call it I something O. So they come out with different kind of version of raising funds. And then we saw another wave, which is NFT, which is riding the same history. Like there was like hype of like hundreds or even thousands of NFT being released, where it's all about the market, it's all about the greed, it's all about the money, it's about speculation. So we see all that, and it comes down, and we felt that, oh, it is something new. In fact, it's not. Like history just repeated it by itself. And
Yeah.
and the other thing you talk about is picking up about the metaverse, because like when Meta changed its name, and Mark Zuckerberg introduced his own metaverse, and people were criticizing, and when he scrapped away that idea, and people say yes, it's dead. But the thing
You
is,
can now in Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, you have legs. You can roam around with legs. That has changed, you know.
yeah, it has
Yeah.
evolved, right? It has evolved also. And having said that, right, because he had so much spotlight on him, and people are not looking at the rest. And when just now when I was introducing you, right, you had explored 20 over metaverse. Was like, okay, the most I only know 5, right? Including the one that we have. But you were like saying that you have been on 20 over metaverse. You have even
Yeah.
have different in onto like 60 over worlds. And
Probably more now. I
yeah,
average 2 to 3 weeks. So I think my 60 plus when I updated that number was like 2, 3 weeks ago. So I'm probably at 70 or 80 now. But I just wanted to bring in some facts about the metaverse. So, even about I honestly think like maybe 8, 9 months ago, there was I read somewhere that there were over 2,000 metaverse platforms. Okay, I don't know if it's verified or anything.
mm,
And then at some point, it kind of moved down to 193 is what I read somewhere
mm,
as well. I can't remember exactly where the source is from. So I've only been on 20. So essentially, that's still just a small percentage of
mm,
it. But the idea of the metaverse could very well be thought of like you can think of it like a Google search engine. Like when the internet first came out, you have Bing search engine, you have you have Google, you have
Internet
Yahoo.
Explorer.
It kind of goes down to the final couple and kind of see which one has the most power to stay. But alternatively, you have to think about metaverse platforms. Like right now, doesn't have to be one wins all, but there will be a few that's just gonna get people's heart because of just the ease of onboarding or perhaps the aesthetics that they like. So there are different ways. The way I see metaverse as well, this is my foresight. I believe right now brands are sort of figuring out which one if they do try, and we need to give them credit for trying to be
Yep.
one of the first to try this innovation. And then, of course, we cannot also be too critical if it's not up to what our expectation of a wonderful experience may be. Because we have more experience in the traditional Web2 and the digital way, online to offline activations. We're very sophisticated now, and to the point where it's boring. We
Yeah.
need to move to the metaverse. So, as metaverse specialists like us, why do we like it? Is because it's a whole brand new world, right?
Yep.
But I believe at some point, brands will probably be on several metaverse platforms, whatever ones are lasting, just like how they are on several social media platforms,
Yep.
right? So, you can use like LV might have just started out with their own. Next thing you know, they're on like, they have the, I don't know if this is true, but they may have their WhatsApp business, they may have their
Mm,
Twitter, or they may have their Facebook page, IG page, 小红书, the little red book. Like
yep.
there's going to be on different ones because that's where the market is. So
Yeah.
I think some point it's going to ease to that. They're going to be across them all. But the beauty is technically it should all be interoperable. So
Yep.
you could jump from one world to the other and carry all your assets across through.
Yeah, I like the part where you you relate it back to what we are familiar with, like social media platform, like different metaverse, right? Like it could be Sandbox, Decentraland, Spatia, it could be anyone, right? They are just different social media for them to market their product and services. I think if you put it in that way, it's just like 3D social media platform that people could just go in and socialize and learn about the brand and different features about the brand and different launches, right?
Yeah. I mean, different platforms have different aesthetics and the way that they connect with their followers,
Yep.
right? You've got X, which is text-based, WhatsApp, also convenience, right? Connecting with communities. And then also IG is by pictures, right? So you can use the same kind of ideas. That's how the metaverse would probably take place,
Mm.
So
Yeah, I like that the analogy, and also I think it's very simple for people to relate. Oh, why do we need metaverse, right? But it's just like what you mentioned, like a 3D world, 3D internet. Now we are in the 2D internet, like what we are doing now, we are on like flat, right? But what if today, right, the Women in Web3 podcast could evolve into a metaverse experience, which
it
which
could.
really which really happened. I do not know whether you watched that interview with Lex and Mark Zuckerberg. They were doing in his own metaverse, which is the uh, Kodak avatar that he was
Saw
experiencing.
it, I saw the post, but I didn't experience it
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched the whole podcast, and Lex himself, the podcast host, right, almost forgotten that the person that he's seeing in front of him is not Mark in person, but it's so real because of the hyper realistic scanning and the 3D and stuff like that. And it felt that they were in that same space, although they were wearing the headgear. I think Quest Pro. They was using Quest Pro, and they were using this 360 scanner that be able to scan the face in 360. And he even cut it into like three parts, which is one, which is he wearing the headgear, Quest Pro, and then there is a 3D model scan there, and with him inside the space, right? So
Yeah.
it's really mind blowing. When I see that, right, I was like, okay, now we are on Metaverse version 2.0.
Yeah, that's a very great advancement since the last time when they first rolled out the project. But I do have to say, Kenneth, like even you and I enjoying each other's like time and conversation right now on, on like our online
Mm,
virtually, it's very convenient and comfortable, you see. So I think the next elevated move is when it is in this sort of like 3D capacity, because now most of us, due to the pandemic, has gotten much more comfortable with like meeting people. We can build a very
yeah,
solid relationship online, make business, even start a company without actually meeting each other in
yeah.
person. That's how comfortable we are now in this sort of realm. So the next elevated one would be seeing each other in 360 or 3D hyper realistic form, because this is the kind of slow buildup, and this is what we're all prepping for.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, and this is what I've also envisioned. So when I saw that the metaverse interview, right, it just bring me back to when Apple Vision Pro was launched, right? And I was like, it was like to me it was another game changer. I was telling my tech team that we should develop our metaverse according to Vision Pro and with their OS and all that, because I see it. I saw the vision. I saw that how it's even more exciting, and I think Mark basically saw that, and he took it, and the team took it, and the team started doing the scanning, the facial, like even wearing the headgear, you are able to see at your like you in digital form the full face, right? Which is also inspired. I believe that it was inspired by the FaceTime features of Vision Pro, because
Cool.
for FaceTime to work, you need to need to use the headgear to scan the whole face, but it's not as realistic as what Mark has done, because I think the camera standard is different for his also.
Not too familiar with the spec of the two VR sets you're talking about. However, I do have a note about how are we going to move to the next level. If you and back to the when you mentioned, I always like to talk about how did we arrive here. So I
Yeah.
always use own experience, right? If you think about it, Web2 essentially kind of took off when there was the introduction of the smartphone. And essentially that was more or less driven by the Apple iPhone, right? The flat screen.
Yep.
Naturally, social media kind of came about because of it, because all of a sudden you can broadcast your life from anywhere in the world. So when you think about it, for diehard fans of a lifestyle product, like I can't live without my Apple products, you know what I mean? So all of these products are also going to be reasons why more and more people are going to step into this sort of spatial computing and into using these sort of like 3D assets and ownership and all of these kind of things. It may not all lead to stuff in Web3 and blockchain necessarily, but then it's the fact that if you have diehard fans, like I'm definitely buying that Vision Pro. Like I want to be the first. I've realized I've always been the first for every product, within Apple. So this is when you start getting more mainstream. When people buy it, see it, need to have it, what is this? It's going to blow their mind, And then naturally, because of the programs, apps, all of these like different sort of worlds that's going to be built for it, like you just said, all of this is also going to help move it along. Because when somebody sees somebody else doing it, it's going to start a trend, right? Like if you remember iPods, before iPhones, right? White earphone, the set that you're wearing right now, essentially a trend-setting thing. Is going to set you apart, That Apple Pro is going to do the same thing for many. And through that sort of kind of idealization of this product is going to drive more people into this sort of quote unquote metaverse world.
Yeah, I like the part where you bring it down to the products, the devices, because previously, even with my team, we were thinking like we can do so much on the software part, but if the hardware couldn't catch up, right, there's no point. And I think Apple has done it again. Personally, I find it because they had just introduced, like you talk about spatial computing, right? Like even having the headgear, even with the headset, is really like what we are experiencing in the movie Ready Player One. And it's like putting on a headgear, and then he has this bodysuit, which is all happening right now, right? There are some YouTubers who are using the bodysuit to do 3D style, to do avatar. Yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait. I hope to get my hands on. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I hope to get my hands.
You should be able to pre-order. You should is delivering on Q1 of 2024. Yeah, you should be able to find it. I do not know whether is it just open to US market, but I know that it's available for pre-order. It's about I think 2,000 over dollars. But I would say that like why is it called Vision Pro, right? It's for the professionals, and I think strategy wise, when we talk about like transiting from Web2 to Web3, right? I think the key thing is about how are you going to onboard people, and they have this strategy, right? Why are they releasing out Vision Pro? Is for the professional developers, like for us, right? Where if we have our tech team, the tech team will get one for themselves, and they start developing the OS, that means the app for the OS for Vision Pro, so that like you say, right, there will be more applications, there'll be more apps that will be built for, and by next year, right, when the product is out, right, most likely they're going to come out with a vision, maybe Vision 1, right? For example, like iPhone 1, Vision 1, and it could be an iVision. So that's what I'm predicting that they will come out with, because with the Pro, right, the professional developer is doing it, is developing from it, but you need something that's not costing you 2,000 over dollars for one headgear. It may reduce down the
It is basic for what it is. Yeah.
Correct. But I think it's for professional, it's like you're having a computer on head, right? And you're developing your software in Unity, and then you import into the headgear and you're experiencing. You need something that's high performance. But for main people like us, we will have like, we don't need the iPhone 14 or 15 Pro, right? We just need an iPhone 15. That's all, right? So that's why I think they're going to streamline it to mainstream soon, most likely next year or end of next year, that they will introduce the mainstreams, because of the application that's available for us to go and use it. And as you know, right, for any new invention, right, it's always a free version, the freemium, right, so that people can start tweaking the software, like how the metaverse is going to be, right? Now we are on metaverse version 2.0. That's how I feel. And I believe that with the flexibility, with the realistic part of it, right? Who knows that next year or the year after next, women in Web3 will be in onto the metaverse interviewing. And at the same time, right, we can invite other people to join us into, as long as they have the headgear and they could be present there. And it's like you going to a physical event where I'm interviewing you and they were just being audience at their seats. The same thing.
Yep. I can picture it already. Count me in. I can't wait. Our next one.
Yeah. So having said that, right, definitely with your experience, you'll be able to know what are the challenges that Web2 brands and companies are facing transitioning into Web3. So what are the challenges and struggles do you see that Web2 companies and brands are having at this
Okay.
point?
In terms of this question, I like how you have all those questions put out here. I think one of the biggest challenges that traditional brands need to think about is how does it fit with their existing plan is probably very important, and how does it elevate their kind of goals or their customer experience. Essentially, it's more like, do we need to be in Web3? So in my mind, of course, every brand should be in Web3 because if they don't start testing and trying, they could be very well left behind. So here comes another example of internet, with e-commerce. So I think with many legacy and heritage brands, so the luxury brands, a lot of them were very hesitant at the beginning of the internet boom and the rise of e-commerce. Partly is because throughout all the years, brands with like decades of experience and history, they care about the physical interaction, welcoming your esteemed clients through the door, having a concierge, bringing you champagne. It's about the whole full experience, right? So then a lot of brands were hesitant to kind of start and have their sales online, starting with, say, multi-brand stores or even having their own online flagship. So some of them that I could remember would be late in the game would be something like the very famous shoe brand Manolo Blahnik was one of the last to really hop on into the internet, and they missed like a huge chunk of sales, so they didn't even join having online sales until 2016, which is very much later. And I believe it was through Farfetch, and then they decided to have their own online store. So when they don't do it early, they miss a large chunk of potential sales. And even having people to interact and be a brand awareness of their brands. So I see that a lot of brands definitely need to consider a Web3 strategy whereby it's about is it about customer experience? Is it about adapting the website so then the overall user experience is going to be smoother? So in the context of retail and fashion, would it be something about applying maybe an AR feature on seeing how your clothing looks like? Because frankly, for someone who's been shopping online for honestly more than 25 years, I've been buying stuff online since like 97 or something, it's flat. Like I still don't know if something's going to fit me or not. You can give me the size chart and it's still confusing. You still have to convert it somehow from inches to centimeters, from UK to Japanese sizes, so they can start and consider that. Is that exactly Web3? Not necessarily, but it's still kind of one foot into the kind of flow of using Web3. For me, Web3 would be the use of something like, I guess, a digital collectible asset to really drive the customer experience, because that's where you get the real value. When you get to know your customers in a very close way, then you can build stronger relations, higher brand loyalty, higher engagement. Naturally, it should lead to conversion. So I do believe having some aspect of digital collectible, digital assets, NFT, soulbound token type are the ways to drive this forward. But they don't have to jump in right away because the market's not exactly ready just yet.
Yeah, I think this is also something that I've been also concerned, because when you talk about Web3, and I do not know whether is it shared by you, that one of the big brands, they were doing this window display that you walk past, right? Then they help you to put on their latest collection, which is AR, right? So I think this is just a beginning that all these brands, all these businesses are trying to understand, right? And even for their marketers. So in the very beginning, a lot of them do not have marketers like us who already dip ourselves into this tech, into Web3. We understand because we came from Web2, right? And we learn about Web3. We are in the trenches. We are learning from our team, our tech. We are developing things, right? Having a lot of use case. And for yourself, you explore. You're basically exploring different metaverse to really get the overview of what is happening. Where not every what do you call that? Not every brands will be able to have the luxury or even have the access to all this information. And frankly speaking, they are already doing very well by themselves. But to have another person or another team to really dive deep into a new space, I think is about a form of investment, right? Whether do they see that investment? That's why a lot of people are asking why are only the big brands going in, because they have that luxury, right? They need to evolve, like you mentioned, the first mover advantage. They need to be in, if not they will be lagged, right? And like you mentioned, if I would know, right, Facebook, Instagram and all this 15 years ago that is going to be boom, I'm going to be an influencer, or if I knew that TikTok 5 years ago I should be on TikTok, I should be growing that, I would have done it.
You
But how many
have a
people?
chance. Oh no, you still have a chance on Threads.
Yeah, trust. Yeah, trust is also another questionable stuff that people are also asking. People asking, oh, is trend still going? Is it just another hype or stuff like that? But I think in every
You won't really. It's hard to tell.
form, like you mentioned, like for Apple products, for even Meta, it's hard to tell because they are always, what do you call that? They can always come out with version 2.0, and or they kind of get it right. When they get it, they just went all the way. It's like when what do you call that? When TikTok first came out, right? TikTok is still figuring out, but in TikTok itself, right, in China is Douyin. So Douyin already figured it out. And whatever that we are seeing here, right, is just adapting and just slowly introducing to the international world about what Douyin can do and now in TikTok. Like we talk about the immersive, the e-commerce, right? Now we talk about social commerce. A lot of people are jumping onto social commerce, buying from social commerce. We see different kind of live stream being broadcast, right? Recently, I think you might have seen, right, that this lady was just taking boxes, take up the stuff and just throw it one side, and next one just throw, keep shuffling, right? And people was asking like she's not even explaining the product. Why would I want to buy the product? But that is that trend, right? That trend that people just want to be entertained, because the
Yeah.
product description is all in the product description, right? The sizing, everything. All you need to do is just feel entertained, feel engaged.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's like I have not seen it, but I guess it's like a trend and it's like a conversation starter, and it's the new aesthetics of that particular platform, right? So even with Instagram, when it first came out, there's like a certain filter and look that
yeah,
was all the rage. Then it came the flat lays where everyone laid out their clothes in flat lays. And then when they started to have all of these reels with the instant changes and I guess the updates on some of the Photoshop editing tools that's
yeah,
easy to use for non-professionals, then it's the instant changes. Like you see through trends like that too. So that's also part of it. That's what makes it evolving and entertaining. If you think about it, a lot of these apps take the best features of other apps and somehow adapt it to theirs, and that's how they become a little bit more interesting, and more usability as well comes from
yeah.
there.
Yeah. So we have talked a lot about the Web3, the Metaverse, and what is going on. But I want to touch on this part, which is immersive commerce that in your description you talk about. I think people are still new to this term, and I think in one of the posts, right, someone from LinkedIn was asking, could we talk more about immersive commerce? So what is your take on immersive commerce, or maybe you can do a short explanation. What is immersive commerce?
Okay, well, let's call it like e-commerce, just like e-commerce, right? E-commerce has been in our lives for more than 20 some years. It's adapting, it's changing. Payment solution has also changed. New applications makes things more seamless. Rise of QR codes makes things faster. Web AR makes things easier to get online. You don't even need the apps anymore. So all of these things are part of this whole larger ecosystem. So when I talk about e-commerce or even Web2, we can kind of throw e-commerce in Web2. We can move it along to something called i-commerce. So i-commerce effectively, to me, as far as I'm concerned, I like to call it still part of the metaverse, right? It's just a very subcategory within the metaverse. As we all know, metaverse have different usages, right? It can be industrial type of metaverse. It can be for city planning. It can help with medicine, rescue efforts. So much can be done with like a digital twin, that type of thing. But for immersive commerce, is for me is particularly storytelling. It's about bringing the user into this environment that kind of elevates what they know about the brand. So all of this I fall under i-commerce, right? So if I give you an example of i-commerce, I think the best one would be all of the elements that kind of brings in, to me, it's like online and offline as well. So as you've just mentioned before, you talked about kind of these virtual try-on mirrors that some stores put out in front of their stores to kind of get conversation going. You can walk by and see a filter on your body of a item that they're selling inside. You don't even have to try it anymore. So what immersive commerce could entail are all of these things above. It can have the virtual try-on mirror. It can actually bring you from your phone using, say, your Snapchat filter, or it could be through a microsite existing in that site to bring you into this 3D world. The 3D world could very well be a metaverse kind of a immersive experience. Immersive commerce entails things like gaming. It entails things like 3D naturally should be part of it, you know. I think about rewards and badges and live time, multiplayers. All of these things are tenets of the metaverse, right? So although not all of them can be launched right away, but many of these aspects will make your whole experience so much better. So back again to existing Web2 shopping experience is so very flat. Like, if you think about it, the entire experience is not very up to par in terms of us as humans and consumers, how fast we consume content, how quickly we lose our attention if something doesn't load fast enough. As I just mentioned earlier, trying on clothes or guessing on clothes would entail so many different stages of planning and thinking. Like, for example, I just bought a pair of shoes. I had to buy 2 sizes because I don't know the size conversion, if it's going to make sense. Add on that is a unisex size, so I don't even know from a men's size to a women's size, all that kind of stuff. It's very much flat. So if you imagine, you can entail things like AI, hyper personalization. Imagine you can upload your hyper realistic self onto a platform and see that real person in your size, your biometric data, your measurements to the exact size, your feet, a scan, who knows, can kind of impose this sort of shoe that I'm shopping for onto your feet, excuse me, and see that it fits very well. You know, all of these things are part of this immersive commerce, and naturally it would scale out to entail a lot more things. NFC onto your physical clothing, I foresee that's going to be a huge driver. What that means is it can bring you into the physical store after you've purchased it. You may see a virtual try-on mirror. Essentially, it's just their LED screen inside their store. You can walk by. It can welcome you. You know, thanks for coming again, Olivia. We have some special sale for you, or maybe the last item you wanted is on sale, or we have new colors. All of these things are part of this immersive commerce. It doesn't have to be all on your phone or on the laptop, not in the physical store. It also embodies the physical experience, because these physical stores are going to build out some of these sort of immersive experiences in their store as well, you know.
Wow. So you have really give everyone, all of us, this very visionary kind of landscape
Not
that we.
too, yeah, I hope it's not too confusing, but it's just making it so much more personalized,
Yeah.
entertaining, seamless. Um, shopping could even, you can imagine that you don't even know you need it, but then at a later date, because of the data, because you're interacting with these immersive spots like experiences, it will know that you need a new t-shirt because you bought five in the past, and it's
Hmm.
your shirt that you always wear. It's going to tell you that it's going to ship on your behalf. Like all of these things are going to be the seamlessness. It's going to tell you that you need to shop without you realizing that you have to shop. So all of
Yeah.
these things could be part of the grander scale, but to bring it back to realistic terms, to not scare the audience, because these are thinking a little bit ahead,
Yeah.
is essentially just experiencing it in a different format. Like just it's like how some websites change up their layout like every
Yeah.
couple of months or something. You can think of it like that. It's like an upgrade, like
Yeah.
imagine a chatbot, a service that pops up and it's actually live because there is an AI that's going to help you, and not be like, sorry, we are offline right now. We open at 10 a.m. at Eastern time.
Yeah.
All of these we don't really have the patience for now. So imagine if it's run by a AI that really gets to know you, can
Mm.
actually get the answers you need. That would be very much, I'm sure everyone would like it.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, the key thing, right, for all this innovation is just efficient, right? Right, be like seamless also at the same time, because it will just be in our lifestyle that without us knowing, like having a mobile phone, a lot of time we bring our mobile phone for transportation, commuting, payment. So it's like all in one thing, right? So in the next 3 to 5 years, I believe that it's going to be even more seamless. So having said that, I really love to have you on this episode, on the podcast. Really a lot of things to talk about. I think maybe we can just wrap up with this part, which is coming back to women, right? As for your case, right, what do you see the role of women playing in shaping the future of businesses and society? Because we talk about a lot of vision, a lot of the immersive commerce, which women also plays a part into it. So how do you see that the role of women in Web3 playing in shaping the future of businesses and society, and especially now with AI, right?
Oh, that's a deep one. Well, I just have to say, it would be great to not segment us and be like women. Like, why can't we just be part of the bigger playing field? That's
Mm,
just one thought. Okay, let's move that aside. Secondly, is I think women has a huge part to play, because a lot of us actually have a lot of skill sets, experience, knowledge to really drive all of the Web3 space forward, right? So even speaking from experience for myself, me from working all of these different industries and having to work with different types of people really kind of make us better communicators, more empathetic. We see and foresee some of our customers' needs. So it kind of brings down to the ability to create for the next iteration of whatever it may be. I think it's important also because that women themselves are really great leaders. We just need to find more opportunities to amplify and share that. So what do you see in the role of women? Yeah, I this is really it. I mean, it's a short answer. It's very well important. Ideally, just like how we don't narrow Web 2 and Web 3, it would be great to not even mention it. It shouldn't be
mm.
my gender that's going to drive me forward. It's my capability. So I just think of it like that.
Wow, thanks a lot for sharing that. And now is your turn, right? Like you remember in the very beginning, there's a tradition that you get to post the question of the day. So now is your turn for you to post your question of the day out to the next guest. So what would be your question of the day for the next guest?
Okay, let's see. So these are for women in Web 3 already,
Yeah,
right?
which is the next guest. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna use something like, I guess, how do you think AI is going to change creators in them developing their brand? Something
Hmm.
along, like, how will AI change and shape the creators economy, which is a huge part of Web 3 as well.
Okay, let me just get how. Okay, so what will you say? What do you think that AI, right?
Yeah, or how will AI change the creators or help creators embrace the Web3? It could be something like that as well.
Okay, so how will AI going to change, right?
Yeah,
Or change the creator economy? Is that
yeah,
better?
sure.
Okay, let me just get it out so that okay. So let me just put it out and let you see if it's good. Okay, so the question of the day posted by you is this: how will AI going to change the creators economy?
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so this question of the day, how will AI going to change the creators economy, will go out to the next guest posted by Olivia. So next guest, get ready to answer this question of the day. So now before we wrap up, right, how can people get connected with you if they want to find out more from you, or they are women who want to be inspired by you?
Awesome. I welcome anyone to reach out to me. I always answer my messages. Predominantly, I'm mostly on LinkedIn. You can find me at Olivia Lee on LinkedIn. All of my social media handles go under LIVVIUM. So LIVVIUM. So that's through Telegram, X, Instagram. My website is also livvium.com. And I look forward to connecting with many of you.
Yeah. So for those who want to get connected with Olivia, right, you can see it in the ticker below that's scrolling. So you can reach out to her there. If not, you can go to the description of this post and get connected with her. So last but not least, thanks Olivia for coming onto my show and for you to share all these wonderful insights that you have for us, especially how people can and brands and businesses can transit from Web2 to Web3. Thanks a lot for sharing, and I would love to have another episode with you to talk more about maybe on immersive commerce or e-commerce that you talk about. I think this is something that's going to be interesting maybe in season 2 or season 3. So once again, thank you for making time, and I would thank those who have been watching till now. We have guests that is live streaming till now. Thank you very much. And for those who are watching replay, right, remember that to share with your friends who are interested in Web3, or your girlfriends that who will be interested in finding more about Web3. So once again, thanks Olivia for coming onto my show, and I shall see every one of you in the next episode. Thank you everyone. Thank you Olivia. Thank you. Bye bye.